Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. So we've done 3 pieces of work to film within both the greenhouse and the polytunnel over the last 10 months. We're in October now, aren't we? So yeah, over the last 10 months. But now it's time for part 4, and part 4 really is what we're going to be doing with these undercover structures through the autumn and winter months. So the first thing that myself and Mrs. W want to try is to grow some carrots. So I've got some carrot seed here. This is a Nantes variety, and it should take around about 3 months to grow. Now of course the temperatures here in Norfolk are going to plummet as we go through late November through December and into January. So this harvest time could be way off, and they might not be of a harvestable size until next March. But that will do for us. If we're harvesting fresh carrots here next March, I shall certainly be an extremely happy man. So let's get these sown. And as always with carrots, you want to try and sow them as thinly as you can. It's not always easy. What I would say is that we did water the drill beforehand. And as the temperatures here in Norfolk at the moment, in more or less mid-October, are still 15-16 degrees by day, a little cooler at night, the temperatures are going down to somewhere between 7 and 10 degrees overnight at the moment, with the odd night that will go down to sort of 4, maybe 3 degrees. And of course as we go later on into October, we may find the odd frost dipping along, although average frost dates for us here are mid-November. So hopefully we should start seeing seedlings appear here within the next 20 days or so. Now in our last video you will have seen us planting out our garlic, and indeed the garlic we planted in the greenhouse are over there. But what we also want to have a go at is to see if we can grow shallots and overwinter those in here, to see whether we can get a slightly earlier crop. Now we usually overwinter onions, but we do tend to lose a lot of them. So I'm thinking, right, shallots, we love cooking with shallots anyway. And the great thing about shallots, they're one of those magic plants where you plant one bulb and you could get anything from 6 to 10 bulbs in return. And you don't have to wait for shallots to be fully matured. One of the reasons you do that when they're planted outside is so that you can then cure them, so that you can store them over the autumn and winter period. They'll last right through to the following spring. Shallots are really, really good like that. But you don't have to. Once they're of a usable size, you can pick your shallots and use them. So that's what myself and Mrs. W are hoping to do here. Now these are some Jermor that we grew this year, and as usual I save some nice bulbs that we can replant again next year. And we've been doing this now for the last 3 or 4 seasons. So these bulbs don't owe us anything. Now, unlike garlic, shallots do not need to be buried under the ground. Like onions, if you do onion sets, they just need to be buried so that their tips are still showing. So you can see in that small row there, I've got 10 shallot bulbs in. If they only produce 6 bulbs, we shall have 60 bulbs to use. I have to say, as we've been using these sets that we save from our own harvest, I think they've gotten more and more used to our soil and used to the growing conditions, the locality of where they grow. And you know, we are regularly seeing 8 to 10 shallots from each bulb that we plant. So from here we could have anything from 60 to 100 shallot bulbs. These onions were actually sown about a month ago. Where are we? 9th of the 9th. So come on quite nicely since we sowed them. And there is our row of Guardsman spring onions. Now the other thing that we've put in is we've popped in some Pak Choi, which we've obviously been enjoying Pak Choi that we had from the garden, but to try and extend the season that a little bit more, we're trying to grow it here in the greenhouse. At the back there's some red Pak Choi, and it's not even got a name yet, as you can see by the label. It's just a number, and it was some free seed that was sent along with the seed order that I placed earlier in the year. And then in front of that we have the Blizzard Pak Choi. We have grown that before. That's a really nice Pak Choi to enjoy. And we've also put some radish, which were multi-sown. And if you are a follower of our channel, you will know that we very often, multi-sow a lot of our vegetables, and radishes is one such vegetable that we do that to. You get your bunch if you want to, or you can pick them individually, pick the larger ones as they become large, and there's generally about 5 to 6 plants within a bunch. So over here in the polytunnel we have almost mirrored what we did in the greenhouse, so we're trying to hedge our bets and see where they grow best, under this cover or under the glass cover. So we have planted a row of spring onions, Guardsman again. One of the differences is the variety of carrot that we're growing in here. In here we're growing a Chantenay carrot. The garlic you saw us put in the last video. We also had some winter cabbage plants left over, so we've popped those in there, and we've interplanted between those some more Pak Choi. The Pak Choi will be finished long before the spring green is ready for its harvest. And then the other change in the polytunnel is the variety of shallot. We have planted Shallot Longor into this polytunnel. While we're just on the subject of shallots, you can see I have the bag in my hand. This is a good shallot, yeah, and just like the garlic, you plant it with the base downwards and the tassel pointing out. But you get one like this, which is all soft. You don't want to be planting that. I know it seems pretty obvious, but sometimes they can still be more like this, but just softer. And if they do feel soft, it means they are going to go like that when you get them in the ground. So don't plant them. Now, one thing I did just want to say to you is when we finish planting up the garlic in this bed, also next door to that is our outdoor growing shallots. And we have the varieties Jermor and Longor in this bed, growing alongside the garlic. And then after we'd finished that, the reason why they were planted there and we didn't put that on camera was the garlic video was starting to get a little bit long. but also we needed to put a cover up. Now this is not for pests as such, like insects and things, but you'll have heard me say many times before, we have woodland behind us and plenty of pigeons operate about here. Now they won't particularly want to eat those bulbs, but they will pull them out. And I know it sounds a bit harsh to blame all on the poor old pigeons, so what I will say is that birds will also pull sets out. So just keep them covered until the green leaves have poked through and they're sort of this tall. And then if you wish, you can remove it. For myself and Mrs. W, we tend to keep it on, because also living quite near the coastal town of Great Yarmouth, we do get quite windy here over the winter period. It tends to drive down from the north. If you think where Norfolk is, it sort of sticks out into the North Sea, so when that wind drives down there, we really get howling winds that come down, and they can be quite devastating and check a lot of the plants in the same way that a frost will, because the winds are cold. So for us, we will look to keep this cover on here until next spring. It will only ever come off, or we'll only ever open it up when we want to do a bit of weeding. Other than that, it remains there, and it's there for that reason. You live in a different part of the country where you don't have that problem, you might not have to do that. But what I would say is definitely cover them until you've got green leaves come through. Same as when you plant your onions in the new year. You know, until you've got a certain amount of green leaf, birds are always apt to pull any sets or plantings that you put in there out. And there we have it, part 4 of the polytunnel and the greenhouse, all planted up for autumn and winter. It's going to be interesting to see how we get on. If you've done all this before, then please do leave your comments down below. Let us know how you've got on in the past. If you're actually doing this for the first time like us, then please leave us your comments down below. It just seemed a bit of a no-brainer to myself and Mrs. W that we have this space and we don't use it. It normally just lays fallow until we actually want to get in here next spring and summer to plant up the plants that we would normally expect to see here in the summer months. But there's quite a long period of time before that needs to happen. So that's really why we've sort of gotten our heads together and thought, right, let's plant something in here. We have the seed, we have the compost. All it takes is a bit of our time to raise a few plants and then get them into the ground. If it doesn't work, what have we got to lose? Just a few plants. Fingers crossed, all is going to be good. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, and we shall see you next time.